Hey, this is Ian Faison from the Vetrepreneur Network. Today we are sitting here at Marines Memorial Club in San Francisco. I'm with Ben Faw, the COO and co-founder of BestReviews.com. Ben, how's it going?
Great, Ian. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. We're trying to get a little insight on Ben's Vetrepreneur journey. Vetrepreneurs are everywhere. You could be sitting in TAP class with an idea. You could be, sitting in a Fortune 1000 company, or a co-founder like Ben here. We want to help Vetrepreneurs learn and grow together, and share these journeys to help everybody out. So, Ben, how did you start? What was your branch in the military, and how did you start your military service?
Yeah, so I actually started out at West Point, graduated there in 2007, branched into the infantry, and from there did the standard courses of infantry officers course, what at the time was the basic officer leader course, Ranger School and Airborne School down at Fort Benning, Georgia, and then from there moved to Hawaii with the 25th Infantry, deployed to Iraq for most of 2009, and then upon returning ended up getting an assignment here in San Francisco, actually just a few blocks from here, working for the Army Corps of Engineers as an aide-de-camp and project manager, which is where I wrapped up my service in 2011.
Awesome. So you're sitting there, probably you're in TAP class, 2011. Are you thinking about entrepreneurship? Are you thinking about going to get a job? Are you thinking about going to school? What's kind of your thought process?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was thinking a lot about entrepreneurship and pretty concerned because I didn't feel like I had a great idea at the time that I wanted to pursue, and I felt like I needed to get my feet wet in private sector work prior to actually jumping off that cliff. And so I was looking at a few different companies. My first choice was Tesla Motors because I thought Elon Musk was doing some amazing things and was quite an entrepreneur in his own right to really learn from and be a part of. And at that stage, Tesla had not yet launched the Model S, so it was at a really pivotal point in the company's transition. So that's where I pushed hard for, using kind of friends and mentors in my network, and ended up getting a job offer there at Tesla Motors.
So after, you spent some time at Tesla, is this the point in time where you're starting to say, I've been at this company for a little bit, what's kind of the next phase of my career? Do I want to stay here? So few people are lifers anywhere. Do I want to go to business school? What are your next thoughts?
I wanted to kind of keep the options open because I wasn't 100%, hey, I want to be at Tesla for 50 years, if you can even do that anymore anywhere.
Okay.
I wasn't like, hey, I've got to go to business school or I'm just going to not be able to succeed. Instead, I kind of thought, hey, I'm going to plant these seeds and see what happens. So I applied to some business schools, was working super hard at Tesla to open up internal opportunities, and really right kind of into that year, beginning of next year, I found out the business schools I got into, and at the same time had some interesting opportunities at Tesla based on performance and hard work. And so basically made that decision based on what I thought was best for me, with a bunch of mentors and veteran mentors in the mix for my decision making, many of whom hadn't gone to business school, and ended up going to make that choice and head to business school at later in 2012.
So you get accepted, you're sitting in B school, you're talking to different folks, you're networking. How did BestReviews.com come about?
Yeah, it's a great question. It comes back to meeting great people and having wonderful friends and mentors and such. So I was actually in a small group of individuals who were focused kind of on entrepreneurial ideas, startups and innovation. We met once a week, really maybe after the first month or two at business school. And within that group was Malm Shofilov, who is now the CEO and one of the other two co-founders at Best Reviews. And his close friend is Dennis Groves, our third co-founder. And so essentially from this small group where we were focused on learning and taking a look at these ideas and so forth, that was really the kind of the forging grounds for this eventual founding team.
And I think that's, it's an interesting distinction. So you're sitting in business school, you meet these folks, he has a great idea, and then, you say, I'm going to graduate from here, and then, I'm going to go full speed into the business, or what'd you do next?
Great question. So he wasn't even sure. At a certain point, he was still kind of keeping options open too. And so I interned with LinkedIn over the summer of between my 2 years at business school. In the year of 2013, beginning of 2014, that's when it became something that was pretty clear Momshel was going to put a lot of energy into. And so that's when I was working with him on the earliest nascent projects with the company. And then ironically, what's happening is end of kind of spring 2014, right towards graduation, starting to get traction with Best Reviews. I had already committed to a full-time offer from LinkedIn. So sometimes timing doesn't work how you'd love it to, but I ended up basically just saying, hey, maybe it's best if I pursue this because I've committed to it and signed an offer, and then we'll see what's happening. I can stay involved on an unpaid basis, and kind of we'll continue to keep in close touch and see what develops.
And I think it's a really important distinction, specifically for veterans. You're used to a steady paycheck, you're used to benefits, maybe you have a small family or things like that. So you're used to being part of a larger organization, and it's not always the right time to kind of say, all right, I'm going to jump full time into my business. There are times when it's, hey, I'm going to go work and work on my business. Gary Vee calls it, 7 p.m. to 2 a.m., right? It's like, you work your job during the day, you're working really hard, and then at night, that's when you work on your thing, or your private enterprise or your business or whatever. So it sounds like you're doing that for about a year. And then what made you say, I'm going to start doing this full time?
Great question. It was really a combination of things. It was a matter of the business getting to a place where we all felt like it was the right stage where I could contribute a ton, on a full-time basis to moving the business forward. And then also I felt like I'd fulfilled my commitment to LinkedIn. And I think the third piece, there's something to be said for, those additional learnings you can get by being back in the fray. So I think if I'd gone straight out of business school, I have no doubt I would have done fine. But that extra year at LinkedIn, I actually got a lot more confident in selling, a lot more confident in understanding kind of the digital ecosystem, the internet ecosystem, the advertising ecosystem, and I think all of those have actually been hugely valuable to my contributions at Best Reviews.
And so did you guys do a hackathon? Did you, were you bootstrapping the whole time? Were you looking for venture capital? Like what were you thinking as kind of like the way ahead?
Great question. So I myself was involved with a number of different startups at Harvard Business School. We used grant money, some of our own money. We never actually took any funding, and none of those ventures were incredibly successful, unfortunately. Momshel was also involved with many different venture competitions as well. The question of taking venture dollars versus kind of self-funding and bootstrapping is something that I think everyone is going to face and think about. For our business, I think that the best choice right now is pushing forward with essentially a bootstrap self-funded model.
Yeah.
But we have to keep ourselves open to opportunities, and so it's always something that could develop down the line based on kind of where we're headed.
Yeah, and 2015 was an amazing year for Best Reviews. You saw a ton of traction, really successful, pushing into 2016. Tell us more about what is bestreviews.com, what is your model, how do you guys make money?
Yeah, so I think that the core of our company is really wrapped up in our mission, which is providing clarity and confidence to simplify decision making for consumers. And so when we keep that front and center, I think we're always on the right path. Right now, we're doing it via a three-pronged method where we kind of take consumer-based feedback, expert advice, and then also over here, the lab-based testing to kind of create what we think is the best ability to take a huge category like cordless drills, where there's 100, 200 cordless drill opportunities, help you know what we think the best 5 are. And then if you don't have money as an object, you can get best of the best. If you're price sensitive, is maybe best bang for buck. And then it's just so easy for you to make a confident purchase. And right now, in terms of monetization, it's primarily what's referred to as kind of affiliate revenue. So essentially, you click on that Hitachi or Makita drill, you hit that page from vendor X, and you convert through and actually buy the drill. We get a small commission from that transaction.
So I go on bestreviews.com, I'm checking out drills, I sign up to be a registered user. I'm checking out different things. I decide, hey, I'm going to buy a drill for my brother for his birthday. I find the one I like. I click on it, I purchase, and then you guys get a portion of that. So, it doesn't cost me any money to use bestreviews.com.
That's the beauty of it, and we think that that's kind of where we view the internet as going, is less and less of these opportunities where you are going to pay $10 a month for review content. We really expect that to kind of be free. And so other ways to actually monetize are, I think, key to success over the long term.
So I want to take a step back to kind of your journey and your education in entrepreneurship. What are the things, like if you were to point to one or two things from your military training, from your military experience, that have really helped you as an entrepreneur, that have helped you, working in a startup. Obviously, you have an operations background with infantry and being in the Army, and now you're the chief of operations. So, what are one or two things that kind of helped you?
Yeah, I think the mission is putting the mission first. It's it's right there in our Army values and the ethos that everyone I think is operating under, and primarily the whole military. That ability has been super important. Staying laser focused on arming consumers with the clarity and confidence to simplify their decision making. That's where we focus, and I think that background and the amount of times it's been drilled into me from the military is super helpful. Another piece I think would be basically operating autonomously. If you think about time, particularly overseas, there's so many situations you didn't train for. There's so many situations that there is no training for, and yet just pushing through and finding a way, I think is an incredible skill so many veterans have, and that's incredibly valuable in the startup environment and really any business environment. And then I think the last one is probably just a root I have from time at West Point and every military assignment of prioritizing, managing time, and getting things done. And combining those, you just become so much more effective than people who get scatterbrained and they get way off track. It's like, no, like today I'm doing these three things. Something else comes up, I'm going to push it to the wayside over the short term because I know these are most important. I'm going to push forward on them. It's all the difference over time, I think.
Yeah, mission first, adaptability and being able to prioritize. That is so ingrained in military folks, and as you look at Vetrepreneurs across the landscape, it's really three of the things that we're absolutely best at. And I would encourage folks to say, what is your story of adaptability, right? It's like, how do you tell that story? Because especially if you're talking to VCs, or you're talking to folks that are looking, if you're looking for funding of some sort, saying, hey, I'm adaptable. That's just a word on a slide. Like that's a word on a PowerPoint slide that everybody uses, right? Leadership, adaptability, all these things. But with your time in the military, you can quantify that actual data. You can say, this is how I was adaptable. I was a squad leader in Afghanistan, and I was trained on field artillery, and now all of a sudden I had to go into logistics. Nobody has those type of experiences except for us. And I think that those are the things that entrepreneurs need to say, this is the way that I am adaptable. This is the way that, can help our business grow. And really, if you're a CEO looking for, a non-technical co-founder, or, hey, I'm looking for a COO, bam, here's Ben Faw, I have operations experience and experience in the corporate America. Who better than that? So I think that that's one of those things that really you look across the landscape, and it's something that we all have, but quantifying that and being able to tell your stories is extremely important.
100% agree.
What would you say, for advice, what advice would you give, someone getting out of the military, maybe they've worked at a company or two, they're looking to start their business, what's the thing that you would say, definitely do blank?
Yeah, I think it's really just two things. Find really smart people, particularly smart people who have skills that are complementary to yours, and work on projects with them. Even if, frankly, if it's not a project you're incredibly excited about, if you're tying yourself to a person who's just 10x better at 5 or 6 different skills that you're weak at, you're going to learn so much. And I think you're going to set yourself up for 100 different opportunities. So that's my biggest single couple piece of advice.
Yeah, let's get tactical a little bit. How did you do that? How did you say, I'm going to volunteer for these 5 organizations? I'm going to, I'm going to walk around at school and say, let me help you on your project. Like, how did you actually do those things?
Yeah, so it's all those things and a little more. So I think nonprofit boards is one route that veterans can use. There's so many things now that you're super aware of that organizations you're a part of promote. I think there's a million organizations out there, not a million, but hundreds that you can find awesome people through so easily.
Yeah.
And then I think the other piece is just stepping out. I mean, frankly, I've done cold outreach
Yep.
to veterans who I really thought had insider perspective on something I didn't have insider perspective on. What do you have to lose? Worst thing is someone didn't reply to your email or phone call. Well, you move on. But I think that's another route. I think the third one is using your friends you already have in your existing network and saying, hey, I really want to learn about this, or I really am really comfortable in this and I'd love to apply it in a business setting, whether it be business development, sales, product work, marketing. Find those things and just doggedly pursue them until it works out. In my own case, it was, hey, I want to learn about search engine optimization.
Yeah.
I really don't know much about it,
Yep.
and I know it's so important. And that's one of the reasons I got involved with Best Reviews really early on, is that something they were focused on. I wanted to learn about it, and so I just jumped into the fray. Was I an expert at the time? Far from it.
Yeah.
But by getting deeply involved with people who were experts, eventually my own knowledge base increased until I was making material contributions.
Yeah, it's a great point, and you look at specifically the networking piece of that. If you're going to go to a conference that involves technical founders, it's like, what better way to meet people that are really good at coding, that can build complex things, and that are looking for an operational focused guy, right?
Exactly.
Or if you see a gal who's a fantastic is building a fantastic hardware product and wants someone to help in that. You just say, hey, how can I help you? How can I help your venture? And I think that's something that we're so familiar with in the military, of saying, kind of the first you have, who else needs to know, right? How do I increase communication, and how do I communicate with other folks? And then the second piece of that is, who else can I help? Who are the other people within my formation that I can go offer help to that needs help with a certain thing? I remember all the time when I was on staff that, if I had a few down moments, I was walking down to the S4's office or the S3's office, like, hey, I got some time that, do you need help with doing something? And maybe it's PowerPoint slides or whatever in the military, but now people are dying for help, specifically other entrepreneurs. And if you're the person that's helping 20 other people, when one of those companies either gets funding or starts getting some serious traction, who are they going to tap on the shoulder? The person that's been there helping them. So I think it's very actionable knowledge, and it's something that I don't think enough folks, specifically entrepreneurs, realize. We know that you're head down with your own business, but I mean, how many organizations are you affiliated with or helping right now?
Yeah, so I'm formally affiliated with the local West Point Society in terms of the alumni organization, which does a lot to support different veterans initiatives. Formally involved with the West Point admissions outreach team for this West Coast region. And then I think probably the informal things are frankly more at times can be more time consuming, and also I think they can be incredibly relevant as far as helping other entrepreneurs and friends of mine who are about to launch ventures out of stealth mode. And then on the other side, it's the support of veterans that kind of never ending, as far as people transitioning from the military, those looking to get into entrepreneurship, or those looking to transition within the private space. That's a kind of never-ending line of people who you're doing either calls with or meeting with, and while it doesn't show up on your resume, I just think it's A, the right thing to do, B, it's super rewarding, and over time I think you can see the impact, and it's pretty awesome.
And it's so funny. Time is our most valuable resource, right? So people don't want to waste their time. But the fact of the matter is, if you go help somebody else's company for an hour, and they help your company for an hour, you're both better off, and you probably brought somebody whose outside opinion, if you were consulting, would be worth, $200 an hour, but
Exactly.
You're getting it for free, and you're also kind of building your own brand, and you're just building awareness for different types of products, how companies are run, and different things. So I think it's really valuable to be able to do that. Where can different folks find you if they want to reach out? Where can corporations find you if they want to get their get info on bestreviews.com?
Yeah, the easiest way is probably just LinkedIn, Ben Faw, and then always on Twitter, it's just at BT Faw, pretty easy to find out there.
Awesome. So I would encourage everybody to go to bestreviews.com, go check something out, read the reviews, and if you're feeling in the mood, maybe buy something. Go to buyveteran.com. That is where you can get a free company listing, and we send tons of information and cool stuff in our newsletter, more videos like this. You can find me at Ian Faison on Twitter or Ian Faison on LinkedIn. Ben, really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on, and we'll be talking to you soon.